Well, welcome to this video, and I hope you like it. If you do, click the like button, hit subscribe, and share with a friend. Okay, not sure how this is going to go over, but I'm in kind of a ranting mood today. Recently did a little excursion down into the little southwest corner of the state, just mining country. It's basically right between both panhandles of West Virginia, right in the crotch between the two panhandles. But it's a heavily fossil fuel economy down there. It's heavily based on coal mining. There's also a lot of fracking going on in that area, and if you look around, there's not much else going on. Most of your communities are out in the middle of nowhere. There's some farming, but it's not the greatest farmland. It's kind of steep, kind of rocky in a lot of places. There are some nice farms, but I'm just saying a lot of some of the area isn't the greatest for farming, just steep slopes, etc. So there's not much else going on down there. And you see a lot of political signs this time of year, but all of them tend to be focused on, voting Republican to protect the fossil fuel industry because they rely on it. And to them, it's not really about the environment so much as it's about jobs. And that's the one thing that I think gets left out of a lot of the arguments, and a lot of I spend a lot of time in these areas. I spend a lot of time interacting with these people, and I mean these are the areas where they've got a certain pride and self-reliance, and this is their livelihood. There's nothing else really there. If the fossil fuel industry goes away, there's farming, there's working at Walmart, and that's about it. Everybody can't work at Walmart. Everybody can't own a successful farm. Just like I said, most of the farmland is expensive for one thing. I mean, most people can't just pull it out of their ass to go off and buy a couple hundred acres of good agricultural land. And, you can successfully do things on smaller acreages and things like that, but they're usually a sort of niche type thing, growing mushrooms, growing ginseng, some little niche thing. And it's like, if everybody's trying to do the same niche, it gets overpopulated and it doesn't work for anybody. And most of these people, they like hunting and fishing. That's part of why they like living out there. They like being close to their families. A lot of them, they've lived in that area for a long time. They don't want to just pick up and move to Washington, D.C. or New York or someplace else, because A, they don't really like city or suburban living, and B, they just don't want to be uprooted from all their friends and family. Coming from the generation of people in Pittsburgh that basically got scattered to the wind. I mean, I even left and came back recently, but almost my entire generation left, and that was hard for a lot of people. Nobody wanted to do it. There's people, their families lived in the same town or neighboring communities for generations, and now you got, all of a sudden, when the economy collapsed, you had people moving to Arizona and California and just wherever the hell they could find a job. And these people, they're, when you're talking about getting rid of coal or fracking or something like that, these people see themselves as, either having to make a tough decision where they're going to have to uproot their family and move to a totally new location where they're going to be away from their friends and their family and any kind of support they were receiving as far as, babysitting their kids or whatever, or, being able to take care of their parents, which is, part of what brought me back to Pittsburgh. The other thing is if they stay there, they don't, like I said, these are proud people. These are the people who are, against social programs and that. The last thing they want in the world is to be, unemployed, living off of food stamps in a trailer somewhere. And, that's the dichotomy they see. Either, support the industry that gives them a wage that provides them with the standard of living they're used to with their four-wheelers and their 4x4 truck and their hunting rifles and whatever else, or just being, looking like Deliverance, but instead of being the skinny kid picking the banjo on the porch of a house, they'd be they'd basically be the skinny kid sitting on the porch of a trailer playing a boombox, that's the dichotomy they see. It's like, you're giving them a choice between, how would I say it? Supporting the industry that feeds them or being broke. To seriously gain support in these regions as far as weaning the country off of coal, which I think should have been done decades ago, because, coal just sucks. Environmental issues aside, coal just is an inferior fuel to petroleum, and petroleum is an inferior fuel to natural gas. And, the country should have moved from coal to petroleum to natural gas a long time ago, but it never did. And, the politics behind that are complicated, but the biggest part of it is just people are protecting their livelihoods. They don't want, they want to be able to provide for their families, and that's part of what's motivating that resistance to shifting away from coal. And until we kind of, well, for one thing, acknowledge that, instead of just, ranting about climate change and this and that, which may or may not register with these people, but you got to understand that on a certain level, people are people, and they're looking out for what they perceive to be at least their own best interest. And to gain any support, you got to have some other option for them to feel like they can transition to. That might require a little bit of socialism, even though these tend to be populations that don't like that terminology, but I mean, Social Security is a social program. It's socialism. A lot of things are. But just, there's not much motivation for development, especially as far as technology out in those areas. And, the cable and internet providers, they don't want to run things out into the more remote parts of the world. They're fat, dumb, and happy where they can invest less in their infrastructure, mainly wiring, and or even if you're going to talk wireless internet, where they invest less in their cell phone towers and that. There's less of a population out there. There's less people paying a monthly bill. There's, you know, per acre or linear foot of line, or however you want to break up the infrastructure. So they're not that motivated to build the infrastructure out there. I mean, if you could get a T1 connection to run internet out in the middle of Greene County, Pennsylvania, or some of these places in West Virginia, and you could put in a you know, like a customer support center for Amazon or something like that, or even something a little bit more technical. Have some, you know, have an opportunity where, you know, the local vocational school or whatever basically trains you in the equivalent of the, there used to be that Microsoft certified professional thing for IT people, and, you know, get something like that going where people can have a decent job doing something else out there. Because, like I said, not everybody can work at Walmart. If you have an entire county working at Walmart, the system collapses. There's got to be somebody working somewhere else making the money to come and spend it at Walmart. Not everybody can be a farmer out there. You know, there's just not enough good agricultural land out there. You know, you've got to provide the other opportunities. And, you know, it was a lot easier, I guess, switching from horses to cars than it is switching from coal to something else, because basically, being that cars are distributed through the population about the same way horses were, you know, the people that made their living off of horses started making their living off of cars. You know, if you were a farrier, which is the guy that made horseshoes, he just started changing tires. You know, you could transition to some other use of your skills, you know, working on cars or something. So but as far as coal in these regions, at least, there's not that much to shift to. You know, if you replace coal with something else, even if you talk about putting windmills in roughly the same location, I mean, yeah, it employs people, but it don't employ as many people as the coal mines did, especially when the coal was being shipped off somewhere else. You know, there's just a difference in scale there. But I guess that's enough of a rant on that one. But just, we need to look at providing alternative opportunities. If we're ever going to shift away from coal and just get the political momentum to do that, where people in these regions aren't fighting it tooth and nail, you got to give these people some other options out there besides, you know, either protecting their job in a coal mine, which is a tough, dirty job. I'm sure if they had a better opportunity, they'd jump on it. But if they had another opportunity or a better opportunity available to them locally, you know, the politics of the issue would probably be an awful lot different. So I'll leave it there. Talk at you on the next one. Well, I hope you found that video informative. Hopefully it made you think, and please click the like button and subscribe if you haven't done that already, and check out the video that should be appearing somewhere around me here, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks.